Hello, this is Josh Donahue for History of Psychology 4472, and today I'm going to be covering Gestalt theory. Gestalt is a German word which means configuration or form, and it's relating to the way that we perceive information, sensory information, and make sense of the world around us. At the time when it was first happening, there was a big push. Technology had advanced to the point where we were discovering smaller and smaller molecular structures, atoms, whatnot, and people are trying to apply that same mindset of understanding the small bits into better perceiving the big bits of life. And these individuals who worked on Gestalt theory, they fought back against that, kind of a pushback. And they said, no, 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 we need context for why we do the things we do. We need to focus on the big picture. We need to bring together, or they say that we do bring together past memories and concepts and future expectations. All these things go into why we do the things we do. So I know that Gestalt is not just limited to perception, but that's all I really got time for kind of today. So the three main figures and founders for Gestalt were Wertheimer, Kofka, and Kohler. In 1912, Wertheimer published his paper titled The Experimental Studies of the Perception of Movement. Please see my other video that I did this week that explains that a lot better about the phi phenomenon and the four big explanatory principles that he came with, or that he came to. But it can all be summed up by saying perception is structured differently than sensory stimulation. So one big important starting off point for what Gestalt is all about, or one thing you need to understand to better grasp it, is isomorphism. Patterns of activity produced by the brain cause the mental experience that we all have. Now, it's not the sensory information, the flashes of light, sound, whatever going on, but the way that your brain interprets those sensory things to really give meaning to our surroundings, to whatever we feel we bring in. Now, perception is caused by, but not equivalent to, that actual brain activity. So the perception happens because of it, but we can't say perception simply is, oh, little lights going off in our brain and what we might see on like an MRI or whatever. But the electrical signals of sensation are given form and they're made sense of by these brain processes in a top to bottom approach. Now there's top bottom approach, and then there's bottom up approach. The top down is basically a cognitive process that realizes and filters sensory information through a lens of unique memories and expectations and concepts, versus a bottom up is more kind of like puzzle pieces, like, oh, this little bit here and whatever. And if you had like a puzzle that was 50% done, if you were bottom up, you'd be like, oh, that's a picture of a dog. You might only need 25 to 30% if you're doing a top-down approach, because you're thinking, okay, I'm at my grandma's house, grandma loves dogs, this is probably a picture of a dog, and yeah, even at 25% of the puzzle, you might already know what it is. So that's just a brief thing on that. But back to isomorphism. There is a difference between the conscious experience we have and the sensations that we receive. You can have the same sensation and an entirely different experience. It's not constant every time. That's one of the big things that they focused on and kind of fought against. So there's the law of perceptions, which was also the law of Pragmaes, and it consists of these four constancies: size, shape, color, and objects. Something doesn't change in darkness or based off of how far away it is or if it's partly hidden, but ultimately it's just the same simple object. Some other very notable, very important principles in Gestalt are things like proximity, similarity, continuity, closure, and the figure and ground. Um, Proximity, if it's close together, they're probably the same, they're included together. If it's similar, you put like with like. The smoothest path usually makes sense with continuity. Closure, we can see things even if we're not sure what they're closed in. And then the figure ground, of course, we can only focus on one of the two parts at a time. That is a quick and dirty Gestalt theory explanation. Thank you so much.